Hello, everyone. Russell Wright from networkempire.com. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to be on our Krakken webinar. I was able to slow Sue Bell down just enough to get her to spend time with us today on one of her. It wasn't that hard because this is probably one of her favorite applications that she's designed and built, and we've worked on together over the last 5 years. I have to say that I have a very special place in my arsenal for this tool. Can't really live without it. I use it personally every day because it allows for the vertical integration of the most important keywords in the market. There is not a faster way to select keywords out of thousands that are the most profitable. And so thank you for being with us today.
Oh, thank you, Russell.
And I just want to go ahead and add for everybody as Sue gets warmed up here that please do feel free to ask the hard questions. We have inside your little question area, you should be able to just type in a question or a comment or anything. And see, Kevin's already started in on us, Sue. The comments about your whips and chains. But all kidding aside, I just want to say that I'm really grateful for this application, and want you to take notes on what's happening here. And if you've never tried the Krakken application, I really recommend that you do. We'll talk more about that at the end, but I'm going to step right out of the way and let Sue jump right in, demoing what I believe to be the most powerful keyword, vertical market, and natural language processing application available to the general public. Thanks.
Thank you, Russell. So I will admit that this is still one of the most exciting tools that I've ever seen, just because it allows me in very short order to take a market completely apart, to be able to follow the money and have a really good idea of what my competitors are doing and how they're doing it. So I've got this diet cluster that I've drilled into, and some of these drills are a little bit old, so if anybody's following along with me and drilling into stuff while we're looking at it, you might find slightly different numbers. It might actually cause the numbers on my screen to change. This is not a challenge for you guys to start drilling into stuff so that my my demos actually update on the fly, but it's okay if you do. So as I look at this cluster, the thing that it shows me here, that you can see these are the seed terms, what we call the parent themes, for each of the clusters, or each of the themes that I've drilled into within this cluster. And what this shows me up here is an overview of what's going on in my cluster. So within each one of these themes, you can see a couple of numbers here right behind the theme. And the first number tells me how many synonyms there are in this particular theme, and the second number tells me how many important keywords. So in other words, when Krakken drills a theme, it'll go out and grab up to 60 or 80,000 keywords that it parses through and looks at and determines what's relevant, and past what's relevant from a thematic or a latent semantic perspective, then it looks to see what keywords are actually interesting in terms of cost per click, clicks per day, searches, and competing pages. And then beyond that, it looks to see what's actually important. So because it's a market analysis tool, it finds those keywords that are actually important to that particular seed term or to your synonymic set. So you can see here it's found actually 20 keywords that are important to the concept of losing weight. So I'm going to start over here in a particular theme, which is diet, which is the top of the vertical market, and we'll just take this apart and kind of show you what's going on here. But within all of these themes, and I haven't got too many themes here who have got synonyms. There's one there, there's one there, this one's got two. It shows you amongst all of these terms the important keywords. It takes into account all the important keywords in all of these themes, and it shows you a competitive analysis up here. In other words, what we do in Krakken, which was revolutionary, was to ascribe a dollar value to a keyword. And this is based off the number of searches, times by the cost per click. Now the TSMV is the total search market value. So in other words, we look at the actual searches on Google, and then we estimate the searches on MSN and the searches on Yahoo and other search engines. We just take all that into account, and we say, okay, if you were ranked #1 across everything, what's the value of all of the searches everywhere going on in an entire year? So we ascribe that value to it so that you can kind of wrap your head around what this keyword could mean to your market or to your marketing campaign. And so when we look at who's got the market share, we look at who has it in terms of a dollar figure, right? So this entire market, the entire diet market as I've got it laid out here, which is not as thoroughly investigated as it could be, but it's representative of a few different ideas within the diet market. What we're looking at here is a $250 million industry. And out of that $250 million industry, WebMD holds a significant chunk of that market. And right behind that, interestingly enough, is Wikipedia. Now typically you can look at that and say, okay, neither of these two people are actually my competitors. WebMD does have a little bit of advertisement on it, but it's not too bad. Obviously Wikipedia is a nonprofit organization. They don't have any advertising. So then you come down here to ingredientrestaurant.com, Mayo Clinic, lowcarbdiets.about.com. About.com actually has a couple of spots in here, and then usnews.com. So you can see who the big players are across all of these keywords, and we're literally looking here at probably a couple of hundred of the major keywords within this market. So that allows you to quickly and easily see who owns the money in that market. So from that perspective, let's just bounce over here to the top of the vertical market and take a look at what's going on in the diet world. When you drill into something that's the top of the vertical market, you normally don't see a lot of ancestors here. If the top of your vertical market is a niche, then you're going to see some bubbles up here which represent larger concepts or the larger market to which your market segment or to which your niche is a market segment. And then from here, from your parent theme, it's going to go, if you follow the arrows, that shows you decreasingly competitive keywords. On this line, these keywords are all sibling in nature. In terms of competing pages, let me find one that's a little bit smaller so that you can see, let's do low carb diets, so that you can see. Okay, so here's one. Low carbohydrate is a segment of low carbs. And just because low carb actually has more competing pages, if you look at it, than low carbohydrate. Fascinating, huh? I mean, the same idea, but more people, thousands of more people refer to this concept as low carb rather than low carbohydrate. So this shows that this is an ancestor of that, and then goes carbohydrates. This is all just in terms of competing pages. Now, what's in this graph up here are the really interesting keywords, like the real driving keywords behind this market. Like we take a look at those things that really spike in terms of searches per day, basically TSMV, searches and cost per click. And so if you, and I'm looking for things in different layers. In other words, I'm looking for things that are a segment or two segments above your parent term. If you look at this this linear progression up here where a market breaks down into market categories break down into market segments break down into themes, niches, micro-niches, phases. Okay, so your parent theme here, this is a market segment, so the things in these categories up here are going to be market categories, and the items in this down here are going to be themes. So that's just, it gives you a visual representation of how your market lays out. So that's why I said that when you're at the top of the vertical market, there's not really, this is a market, there's not going to be anything any bigger than that. So These are the heavy hitters, the heavy players within the diet theme. These are the heavy hitters within the low carbohydrate theme. And as you look down, what I like to do, the first thing I do is I take a look at this to kind of get a visual overview of where the really important concepts are in each one of these layers. And then I tend, by default, Krakken sorts these things by competing pages, but I'm actually more interested in following the money when I first hit a market. So I'm going to sort by TSMV, and then I know as I come down here, as I look down this list, I'm looking from the most expensive term down. So beyond diet, we've got diet pills, which is very generic, right? That's going to, if you drilled into that, it's obviously going to break down into all the different kinds of diet pills immediately. The Palo diet, a particular kind of diet, which you've also got with Atkins diets. Diet and diets, the plural of something is usually a little bit less valuable than the primary term, just because this is going to lend itself to more keywords. It's actually going to be a larger market than the plural is, typically, not always. HCG, which I think is another kind of diet plans. Now, okay, so as I look at this, I had somebody in the help desk the other day hand me a list of keywords that they were wanting to use as silos, and they were wanting help trying to figure out, okay, I got this great list of keywords. Now, how do I decide which terms are my diet terms, or which terms are my silo terms? And as I look at this, one of the things that I'm doing in my head is I'm categorizing these things, right? So diet pills are a thing, and they're a way that help you lose weight. Particular diet plans are also a thing that help you lose weight. So you've got Coke diet. My goodness gracious, I don't even want to think about what that means. Then you've got dietary, which is an interesting term. It's like an idea. If that concept were germane to my USP, I would drill into that to see where it would go, because dietary just in and of itself doesn't mean enough to actually base a silo on. But if it could possibly lead to some very interesting concepts. And then on a diet, healthy diet is more of a maintenance kind of a thing, where a lot of these concepts are actually trying to lose weight. This is more of a maintenance. Balanced diet is also more of a maintenance. And so in the dietary supplement, this bounces back up into the dietary pills type of a thing, where it's a thing that's helping you to lose weight. So when I'm looking at keywords, I'm constantly categorizing like that. I categorize like that. I also categorize by cost per click. This is going to tell me that there's an affiliate plan that sits behind the Atkins diet. And then when you get into Diet Coke, when you get into something like that, it's just let me just show you what I'm talking about a little bit closer. When you look at the whole diet industry, the industry at large, right, you're looking at, when you look down the terms here, the average cost per click, you've got $4, $4, $3, $4, $3, $3, $2, $3, $9 in detox, which we'll get into later, a couple of dollars there, $6 there. So when I look at something that's 61 cents, I'm like, wow, not terribly meaningful. And as the diet industry at large, right? HCG diet, that's also not, I'm intrigued by that, by the fact that it's only 33 cents, but it doesn't stand out in my mind. Atkins diet would stand out in my mind. This is a reasonably priced keyword. So I'm segregating not only on the type of keyword, but I'm also segregating on the cost per click. And if I have a really long keyword list, I probably only go down maybe a dozen keywords. So I mean, normally Krakken's only going to bring back about 40 keywords that it's going to deem important. Like, we actually try to cut that off actively so that you're looking at a finite group of keywords and you're not completely overwhelmed. It's not a keyword tool, and that's one of the things that makes it different. Now, if you're in a niche, for example, over here a moment ago we were in, I think, low carbohydrate, yeah. So low carbohydrate is a niche, and when you're in a niche, oftentimes you're more interested in seeing what's behind the interesting keywords, or the things that we deem as being interesting. So you hit the show all keywords, and it's not that these other keywords are not interesting. They just don't spike as high on these items across the top here. So so then you can come down here and you'll see, you can quite oftentimes find ideas that are really important to your market that you would want to drill into and find out more information about, or concepts where you go, wow, that would make a really good article. I don't tend to find silo concepts that way, but sometimes I'll find an idea that'll lead me a tangent. There are more tangent ideas too in the show all keywords section. And so sometimes I'll find more of a tangent idea that'll lead me to another silo that I wouldn't have thought about normally. So let me just stop for a second, back up, and go across the information that you see here. I talked already about cost per click and then pay-per-click traffic versus search traffic. These two things put together I find really interesting. Starting about a year ago, I started to see that pay-per-click traffic could actually exceed searches, and that's because the pay-per-click traffic includes network traffic. It's not just the traffic on the search engines, where obviously searches is going to be limited to the number of searches. It also might be impacted by being logged into Google, where they won't record what the keyword is that you're actually searching on. But they might be recording that information for pay-per-click traffic. I'm not sure about that. That just occurred to me that that might also start to play a part. But anyway, it is completely possible, as you run down the list here, to see things in the pay-per-click column that exceed the searches. Co-occurrence is market share. So in other words, we look at the number of competing pages for, in this case, diet, and we look for the co-occurrence for this term, say, diet pills. And what we found was that on 2% of the pages of diet, we found the keyword diet pills, in quotes. Like, this isn't just like diet and pills somewhere randomly within a paragraph. They're smacked together. So, phrase match, I guess I should say. So, oftentimes, I mean, a significant market share can actually be quite small. We do have a cutoff on that, but it's really pretty low. I'm just looking for some interesting examples here. For example, net carbs is 0.5%. One of the reasons that you can find a really small market share, but it's still really important, is because the numbers of competing pages are small. So if you're looking like this is a pretty small number of competing pages at 2 million. So you'd have to get way down here toward the bottom. I mean, to have 0.25% co-occurrence for such a low number of competing pages, that's actually fairly relevant. That's actually shockingly relevant. So, so this gives you an idea of how important a particular keyword is to the market that you're looking at. So if I'm looking at the low carbohydrate market, I can come down here and say, okay, low carb breakfast recipes has got a pretty significant market share of the low carbohydrate diet or the low carbohydrate market. And so it's an indicator. It's just another indicator. It's more of an indicator of how your competitors are talking about these terms than it is an indicator of how people are looking, because you've only got 5 people a day looking for this term. But within your competitors, when they talk about low carbohydrate, one of the topics that they talk about a lot clearly are the diets. So it just gives you an idea of co-occurrence of market share. It's there are some markets where that can be a really fascinating piece of information, where you'll find that a huge percentage of your competitors. Let me just see for a second. second, for example. Oh, here's a perfect example, cauliflower. Now that comes as a surprise to me that cauliflower would have such a high co-occurrence in a low-carbohydrate diet. I know it's a low-carbohydrate food, but to find 50% of your low-carbohydrate pages talking about cauliflower, that's shocking to me. So cauliflower may not be a mover and a shaker in your particular market, but that's an indicator of how you can see what keywords are important. Now, or at least as far as your competitors are concerned. Now, part of the reason why you're going to find, well, no, I can't even say that. There's oftentimes that you've got millions of pages. Like this is, 8 times the market that low carbohydrate is, cauliflower. So but it's still just, that's just kind of insane that it comes up that often in a low carbohydrate diet. Fascinating. Fascinating. I would have imagined that things, like, I don't know, I just would have imagined that different things would have been talked about more. So that's an example of how you can find surprising information out in this tool. All right, so that's co-occurrence, competing pages, or phrase match. Actually, all of the information in here is going to be phrase match, and TSMV I already talked about. So we can go back to our the themes for our cluster again. Once I've taken a look at the top of the vertical market, it usually gives me an idea. I tend to follow the money, right? So let's say what I'm looking for at this point is how big of a percentage of the diet market my market actually takes up. So I would be looking to see if, for example, I'm looking at a detox diet and detox doesn't even factor into this, then I'm looking to drill something more into something in between, right? Or maybe I would just drill right smack into detox and see. Fascinatingly enough, there isn't anything above detox. But I would look to see if there's a way to connect these two. Let's just look at detox diets for a second, because that should have diets as a... Yep, you've got diet plans. All right, so from diet plans you get to detox diets, and from here you can get to diet plans, right? So I can see here, I can connect the dots and say, okay, out of this diet, which is a $25 million term just in and of itself. We've got diet plan, which is a $1 million term, and then I've got detox down here, which is a $200,000 term, or detox diets. So from there, I can follow the money, right? So I'm like looking at the top of the vertical, which is diet, and I'm following it down to detox diets, and I can get a feel for how much of this market my market segment actually accounts for. Now, if I look at detox diets as a whole, like let's just look at detox diets as a theme for a second. Let me bounce back out here for a second. We've got detox diets. Runs anywhere from $0 to $6. Your average competing pages is 500,000. Your searches, you've got, out of the interesting keywords in here, you've got 5,000, almost 6,000 searches a day. And as a theme, it represents 1/10 of, actually 1/10 of this lose weight. Diets is actually $150 million. So it's a little bit more than 1/10. So, okay, that's my overview of the detox diets. And as I look actually into the theme itself, what this is going to tell me up here, this gives me a couple of different ways that I can look at the market. It gives me the total search market value for all of the keywords in here. This is going to give me the organic market value, in other words, the search market value. The organic rank value max, this is the value for position 1 and 2. This is if I owned the entire front page, right? If I had enough domains and I ranked everything on the front page and I actually own the top 10 positions, And this would be, we came up with this idea when you could only own 2 positions. Now, of course, Google keeps playing with that, and today you can own several positions, although you can't own as many as you could 6 months ago. So, so we've given up trying to actually come up with a true max for the organic rank value, but this is if you held position 1 and 2 on both Google and Yahoo. And MSN, obviously, although if you hold it on Yahoo, you're going to hold it on MSN since they've got the same results these days. So this is the value for holding position 1 and 2. And then the pay-per-click market value. In other words, this is your pay-per-click traffic estimates multiplied against your cost per click. And the reason why we decided to go with the cost per click as the value for a keyword is because I figure if somebody is bidding that price for a keyword, if somebody's actually willing to bid $1.33 per click for healthy diet, they must be making money on it. Now, I know sometimes you get crazy people in there with really deep pockets and they overbid on a term, but it's a pretty good average. It bears itself out in the long run. So this is the pay-per-click market value. And all of these values are yearly based. The reason we look at it from a yearly perspective is because that actually makes the number big enough that there's a differentiation between those values. It gives you something that you can wrap your head around it. It gives it a meaningful number. So then if I come down here into TSMV, let's just sort by TSMV again. The first thing I do, as I said, I sort by TSMV, and then I want to look down this keyword list. It gives me a better feel for how the keywords in this particular theme lay out, the important things float to the top. And so I'm going to look at these keywords, how to detox, diet plans, raw food diet, and again, I'm categorizing in my head what kind of keywords these things are, what the cost per click is, and all of these cost per clicks are reasonable, but there are some of these $6. I mean, clearly these people are going to they're going to have a product that they're promoting, right? Affiliate product probably. And detox programs, that's the same thing. Whereas healthy diet, probably not as strong a conversion as detox programs and how to detox. So all those kinds of ideas, they just go through my head as I'm looking at this. Foot detox is an interesting one. That one hasn't registered in the Richter scale for me before, but I'm aware of the fact that that's becoming more and more interesting to people. They're coming up with some crazy things to do for foot detox. All right, so that's how that lays out from a TSMV perspective. Once I've looked at my major theme, in other words, the theme that I'm actually focused on, we'll say, to build my website around, just as a for instance. So once I've analyzed the theme from that perspective, as I said, I only look down enough keywords so that I can keep it all in my head. I click on the cost per click and I take a look at what spikes the highest on cost per click. How to detox, again, doesn't surprise me, right? At that high cost per click, that comes up again. Foot detox again, detox programs, diet plan, which we saw over here was also, so that's a fascinating thing to me when you start to see those connective tissues come across, and especially since it's a decent cost per click. And low carb diet. Now that didn't register on my Richter scale before. Let me just go back to TSMV here again for a second. Low carb diet. It was there. Interesting. But it just didn't register because the cost per click I didn't think was high enough until I sorted by cost per click, and then I realized that based on the cost per click of this particular market, wow, there's a whole bunch of them that are $1 and under. So clearly this isn't, if I sort by cost per click up here in the top of the vertical market, interestingly enough, you're getting about the same percentage. This is a longer list. So it's not unfounded. So at $2, that's not a bad cost per click. Low carb diet, detox. I'd have to look up. I mean, I know that if Krakken is telling me that these two things are related, they must be related. It seems a little tangent to me. That might be something that I wouldn't have thought of to include in my detox diet. So I would probably go investigate that online and see if that's really something that I would want to investigate. Okay, so let me just take you down another path here for a second. So at 3.2 million pages, it seems like low-carb diet is going to be one of these things that might not be too competitive. About.com is number 1, and that's a page rank of 6. I would call that competitive. Wikipedia is number 2, and that's a page rank 5. And whenever I start to see about.com and Wikipedia at the top, and then you got Mayo Clinic and WebMD and a .org, I'm realizing that Google is probably putting educational sites toward the top of that. I might have a really tough time trying to rank for that as if I'm a product site. I've started to see this recently, I would say within the last 2 months, when they did that really hard shift to anything that could be localized as having 7-packs and having a real strong local, stronger than what it had been doing before, and when it started really pushing products. And I don't know if you guys were aware of that, but somewhere in the last couple of months they did a major shift. I mean, they've been moving more and more toward that direction, but they did a really major shift to promote more products and to promote more local results. And I've seen more on the educational terms that they're really strongly promoting educational sites. So I'm not sure what it takes at this juncture to be able to get your site into some of these educational arenas. So I'm going to back off that concept for a moment. It seemed like a good idea there for a minute. Detox for women. I have to wonder why that's only at $1.59. It's got no competing pages. That seems like, unless people just don't search detox for women, which bears that out a little bit, they're more into detox programs, they might not. I'm just curious now. Sorry. I have to deviate here for a moment. Amazon.com. Detox that isn't crazy, everyday diet, detoxtheworld.com. All right, so not, Oprah. All right, so let me just see what the page rank is here quickly. That's a page rank 3. That's a page rank 2. That's fascinating to me. All right. So I'm looking at page rank 2s and 3s at the top of that term, and not a lot of competing pages, and a fair number of searches, all things considered. That might be a topic that I would tuck in as a silo in my site. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for. I'm going down, we've sorted by TSMV, we've looked at the top, we sorted by cost per click, we've looked at the top. The next thing that I would sort by actually would be searches, which clearly at 15, this is going to drop way down. Let's just go find that term for a second. Okay, so in terms of searches, that's clear down here, but because the cost per click was high enough, it's fascinating to me. If the cost per click is that high, then it says to me that these guys are getting some kind of conversion, a reasonable conversion off of those searches in a day. So I would probably, I don't think it would take me that much to rank for it. It looks like a page rank 2 would get me in the top 5. But I might run some pay-per-click ads before I just went off and optimized for it, just to see what kind of conversion I'm getting off of it, to make sure that it would warrant actually heading down that path. So so now I've sorted by searches to just come down here and take a look at what's going on. Who's on first? Raw food diet, obviously for detox. A raw food diet is going to be one of the most searched for things. There are products that go along with that you could monetize. However, my bet is that's probably going to be a fairly competitive term. Let's just take a quick look. And this is just a quick and dirty what I do over here in terms of looking at PageRank. If I'm really interested in a term, I would actually drill into it and take a look at the competitors and the white page, the white page report, which we'll get into here in a minute. So that's a PageRank 5 for the WebMD site. Then I got Wikipedia, which is probably going to be a 4 or 5, yeah. And then we've got US News, which is probably also going to be a 4 or 5, yeah. Ah, you got a video. Well, now that's a way to get into there. All right. You got a blog post from 2008, fascinatingly enough, at a PageRank 3. So somewhere around this place I could get in. That's definitely above the fold. So for raw food diet, if raw food diet met my positioning, whatever it is that I'm selling, if it meets the way that I'm positioning my website, I could definitely get in there without too much effort. So that's basically what I do. I search first by TSMV, I sort by TSMV, then I sort by cost per click, then I sort by searches, and I'm looking for things that stick out and opportunities. And it doesn't mean that I wouldn't go back and actually include the basic keywords that I need to include in order to express the concepts that I want to express, but I want to search like that just so that I can get a feel for where the opportunities are. Like that's the first thing that I'm looking for, are ideas that I can exploit. So, all right, I've covered a lot of ground. Russ, are there questions that I should answer?
I've been answering most of them.
Excellent.
Stephen's been asking a few questions I've answered, I'm pretty sure. He's asking a question, do the educational terms become support terms? And he's trying to distinguish between educational and money terms.
Right.
Maybe talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, so typically if I'm using Krakken for a market, I'm going to be doing some serious market domination, which means when I'm looking, where's the WR1, WR2, what's the keyword for that I can type in and get to that
okay, there's there's themes in glossary under your entry market domination, which is your drawing. But there is also one web ring to rulethemall.com.
Okay. Is it market domination web ring? So when I'm here, there we go. When I'm looking in here, and the WR1 sites are always the first thing that I'm building out. This obviously the WR1 is going to include my money site. And that's the first site that I build, because if somebody wants to give me money, I certainly want to be able to take it. But past that point, I would be interested in building an educational site. So this wiki is a perfect example of that. The wiki, it's not that it's not monetized. There is a call to action on it, but it's subtle, and we don't push the products here. The idea is that it's trust building, and we're giving back to the community, right? We're just providing information. And so it is an educational site, and as such, there are things that you can do with Google. You can register sites. Dang, I'm going to get in over my head a little bit because I don't have that documented anywhere. But there are things that you can do to tell Google that, or to tell the web at large, that certain sites are ontologies and can be used as definitions, and there's other kinds of trust building sites. And so those kinds of things, I haven't ever had any of these things necessarily ranked up in here along with the the Wikipedia and WebMD and US News type arenas, but I also haven't tried pushing them that hard. I haven't had anything that I was coming up that I was actually trying to push against those sites. So I can't tell you exactly how well that concept works from a ranking perspective, but I can tell you that it does work extremely well from a marketing perspective. We get a lot of people that come in through our wiki and they eventually find us because of the concepts that we're talking about on our wiki, and they're like, wow, where have you been all of my life? So, so supportive terms can be used, or educational terms can be used as supportive terms within your articles. For example, if you've got something that's more along the lines of, well, it doesn't matter what, even on your money site, probably underneath your products, you're going to have supporting articles that talk about why your products work and what makes them different from the other products on the market. And so you would use educational terms in there. And that's a great place too, where if you have a wiki or some kind of an educational site, you can link over to that. And you can actually promote your keywords on the educational site, and where like you try to rank for them on the educational sites. Whereas if I'm using them on my money site, they're probably going to be more in the role of a supportive keyword.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay.
I think that's probably most of the questions for now. And
all right.
are there other things that we're going to cover today, or how far are you going to take this? Okay,
Absolutely.
excellent. You're just don't get you started. Okay, got it.
It's too late. I'm started, baby. All right. So, so the next thing we should do, I'm going to show you. We come all the way back out here to the cluster for a minute, and I actually want to be down here in the carbohydrate. So as I look down here, by default, this page is sorted by ORV. It automatically follows the money. So I'm going to find more of my niches down here toward the bottom. And on this screen, I'm going to be in carbohydrate. And over here, I want to show you, you can come here into Google Trends. So the cool thing about Krakken and Google Trends is that it will bring you the parent term of all of the themes in your cluster. Now, if you get something like this every twice in a while you do where it doesn't actually display anything, that means that there's too much of a differentiation between these keywords and Google's having heartburn. So typically, you just deselect these one by one until you find the keyword that it doesn't like, which must be low carbohydrates. Wow. Or perhaps Google's changed this. You know, I didn't preview this before. I started this. Let me just check this over here, see if it's going to... Oh, Google must have changed their... All right, I got to do an update. Dang. All right. Tune in again in 2 weeks and I'll show you that cool thing. But for right now, it seems to be that Google changed it since the last time I used it. Darn. So the idea is that you got to see the trends of all of your keywords, and you can find out what's trending up and what's trending down. And oftentimes that'll change what I think about which keyword is going to be my primary term. So in other words, if I've got a couple of synonyms and they're kind of neck and neck, I will I'll trend them both to see which one's on an upward trend and choose that one as my parent term over the one that's on a downward trend. There's been a couple of times when it's really saved my derriere because I had a client who just absolutely positively knew what keywords he wanted to rank for, and so I drilled into the terms and I'm looking at it, and I'm he basically knew what he wanted for silo terms, and all I was really supposed to do was figure out what the articles and supporting keywords were. And when I drilled into it, I just happened to glance at the trends, and I found out that his most favorite keyword was actually on a serious downward trend. And because he was too close to the market, because it's jargon that he uses every day, he wasn't aware of the fact that there were different trends that his potential clients were actually starting to use, and that his favorite term was actually in decline. So just just putting that out there, that can be quite a useful thing to check. So beyond that, that's Google Trends. Let's take a look at the ranked domain screen. The ranked domain screen, this is one of my favorite charts, this bubble chart. What this will tell you, wow, that's still a really competitive, let's try detox. All right, that's a little bit better. This is actually a really good contrast here. So when you see all of the bubbles in the upper right-hand quadrant here, it means that the vast majority of these domains have got a high percentage, they're ranked for a high percentage of the keywords, the important keywords in the theme, and they've also got a high percentage of deep links, which means the SEO on these sites is really pretty stiff, right? They're doing a pretty good job at what it is that they're doing. Wikipedia being like right up at the top of the list, you can see how many keywords across the entire spectrum that they're ranked for, and this makes total sense. When you look at this chart, you can think the most expensive keywords on the left and the least expensive keywords on the right. So for instance, on this chart over here, you can see that the spread is much more all over the map. So this is going to be an easier market to break into. And you can see, by contrast, Wikipedia is only ranked for a couple of more expensive terms, and then it's not really ranked for anything else. About.com ranked for some of the more expensive terms, and then there's a bit of a lull, and then they rank for a couple more terms again. So this gives you kind of a thumbnail. Low Carb Friends, not ranked for too much. Now, interestingly enough, they must be ranked, this term here in the middle, they must be ranked much better for that than Low Carb Luxury is ranked across the board for several terms because their TSMV is higher. Now this is a great screen to rank a new domain. You can come in here and you can rank your client's domain, as a for instance, and you can see how they stack up against everybody else. I guarantee you, because most SEO firms don't try to rank their clients for too many keywords, and that the keywords are not necessarily thematic, nor are they necessarily meaningful. Most people, when you add them into their primary theme, they end up down here at the bottom. And so they can see, when you look at the pie chart here, you can see, of course, Wikipedia's got almost a quarter of the pie. And then past that point, you've got about.com, and then you've got gina.com, and then it kind of fragments into everybody else. You'll be able to show them that they've got a very small slice of this pie indeed. Fascinatingly enough over here, because there's no clear owner in this market, everybody's got an extremely small slice of this pie. Wikipedia is the largest slice. You can tell that because they're number one down here. But the slice of the pie that they have is still pretty pathetic. Let's just click into that for a second. When you click into the domain itself, you can show exactly how bad the scenario is. This is what they actually own and the potential. Now this potential is talking about if they're ranked for position 1 and position 2 for all of the keywords. So my gut hunch is over here, you're probably going to find, yeah, okay, so every twice in a while you'll find that the ORV real actually exceeds the ORV max because they're ranked for something like this. They can be ranked, a few months ago they could be ranked for position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fortunately, we've had an update in the middle that was supposed to, well, it's cut it down. It hasn't cut it out, but it's at least cut it down a little bit where they can't own so much of the above the fold real estate or the first page real estate. But you'll still occasionally find where the ORV real exceeds the ORV max just simply because they're ranked for so many positions on Google. However, even when they are ranked, you know, that'll only be a couple of terms where they're ranked for so many positions, and when you take a look at the actual versus the potential, it still is going to be really intimidating how much money that your client's leaving on the table. So this is a great couple of screens that you can use to close your clients. It shows your client a couple of different things, right? It shows them the idea that you're talking in terms of themes, you're talking in terms of ranking for tens of words rather than 10 words, right? Maybe like 100, 200, maybe even 1,000 keywords, whereas most SEO firms are talking about ranking for a fraction of that, and you're talking about being able to rank for it confidently because there's a thematic relationship between these keywords, and Google recognizes that thematic relationship and rewards you for talking about similar things and linking those things together. And you can come in here and show them that really nobody else or very few people are taking that approach, and that just puts you as an SEO firm in a completely different league from everybody else out there. So, all right, that's pretty much the ranked domain screens. Do we have any questions on that, Russ?
Not on the ranked domain screen, no.
Okay, good. Then we'll return to the theme, and we'll take a look at the competitive analysis. I probably don't have a white paper drilled out for both of these yet. We'll have to find a theme where it is. So we don't take up too much time. Not going to wait for you. Low carbohydrates. Let me see if I've got one in here. Yes, there are limits even on my account, people. It's sad. Worst case scenario, this other one will be drilled by the time we find one. So I'll just talk for a minute while this drill finishes. What this screen is going to show us is the core information about your top competitors. Let me just see, that was low carbohydrates, I think. Detox diets, 47, here we go. All right. So I'm in the detox theme, and the detox has only got, as you can see over here, detox doesn't have any synonyms. If it had synonyms, it would bring you back the information for the parent theme and the synonyms, which that can get a little confusing. It's a cool thing to look at, but typically I like to look at just one keyword at a time, and we've got a functionality built in for that actually between the vertical markets and the synonymic net I'll talk about in just a minute. But what this is going to show you, again, this shows you a similar type pie chart as what we saw over here. Let me just go into detox again and I'll show you the differences. We have here in ranked domains, we've got a similar pie chart, but you can see it actually looks quite a bit different. This is the market share for looking across all of the important keywords within this theme, whereas this is the market share looking at just the parent theme and synonyms if they exist. Okay, so whereas this has got, this splinters out into a great nothingness very quickly. You can see when you're looking at just the seed term, just the term detox itself, that Wikipedia, obviously, you can see that from here, Wikipedia owns a huge percentage of just the term detox. But this is showing you in much more detail just the term detox, okay? So Wikipedia, WebMD, Gaiam, Dr. Z, you can see what the rank is for the term, and the interesting thing is position number 9 is actually more valuable than position number 10. position number 10 is actually more valuable than position number 9, because if people start looking down the page, they'll tend to look at the one on the very bottom that just kind of hangs out there. It actually gets more clicks than position number 9 does. So as we look at what's in position number 1, this chunk of information right up here gives us information about the domain itself. It was created in 2001. The domain has a page rank 8, whereas the page that's actually ranked for this particular term has got a page rank 4. The Google ORV for this site, for this theme, is 600 and wait, let me just think that over a second. No, that's the Google ORV just for this one particular term, or for the synonymic set if there were one, is just over $500,000. The rank multiplier, this is where you can see how we calculated. We took the ORV and we multiplied it, the total ORV, and multiplied it by 0.442. So in other words, we're estimating just about 50% of the click-throughs between Google, Yahoo, and MSN. Just about 50% of the click-throughs for position number 1, where it falls off to 0.12% for number 2, position number 2, and 0.087% for position number 3. So you can see, and this was taken for studies. This wasn't something that we just made up. You can see how quickly it falls, like how strong. Now, I will say this, it depends on your call to action. So, for example, if we look, let's just look up Detox for Women again. When you look here at what your title tag is, and most often this is pulled out of your meta description, although not always. And so if you have these two things really well written, you're much more liable to get a good click-through. If your title tag and your meta description are weak, then people will tend to come down the page a little bit. If it's either weak or it's not descriptive enough, then they're going to move on and look for what it is that they really are looking for. Now, the interesting thing is if you're in position number 1 and you're not getting a reasonable percentage of the click-throughs, you won't hold position number 1. In other words, click-throughs are part of the algorithm that determines ranking. And so I can't stress that enough. When you're doing your SEO, like, take the time to slow down, to put in a good title tag and a good meta description. And I know in blogs, like, more and more people are moving to blogs, and I know you have to have a plugin to really get that stuff nailed, or you have to, if you're using Domain Web Studio, then it will do it for you along with our plugin. But taking the time to slow down to do that will help you get and hold those top positions. So, all right, so this is basically the value. This is the number of pages indexed for the entire site. So between the age of the site, the page rank of the entire site, and the number of pages, you can start to see the authoritative nature of the site. Now, a lot of people ask me, in fact, this is one of the most common questions I get asked is, is it important to buy an aged domain? How important is the age of the domain? How important is the authority of the domain? And it's not. Like, the bottom line is, it's not important. I've seen plenty of brand new sites come in, so long as they've got good traffic signals, they're well SEO'd, they've got good content, blah, blah, blah. All of the factors are there. You can easily outrank the older sites. And the authority, the reason that I look at the authority is because I'm looking at the amount of page rank that's being passed on site. Right? If you have a site that's 18 million pages, you've got a lot of page rank that's just being generated by those pages on that site. And so a lot of this page rank is probably internal linking rather than external linking. So that means if tomorrow Google decides that 50% of the inbound links to the site are meaningless, this is still going to have a strong page rank just because of the internal linking within the site. So those are things to consider. Like they place sites like Wikipedia and WebMD just the nature of those sites, they're going to rank really easily for stuff, and they're going to hold those rankings no matter what Google's doing externally in terms of shaking things up. So, what's the
I don't know if you got that last question, but about the ranking multiplier.
ranking multiplier? Yeah. So I did cover it, but I'll cover it again. What this ranking multiplier is what we determine the click-through rate, the percentage of the click-through rate is going to be for this particular position. So in other words, and when it's pretty straightforward when you're just looking at one keyword, we're going to say studies have shown that your average click-through rate for the #1 position is 0.442, and that the average click-through rate for position #2 is 0.122. And where it gets fascinatingly complicated is when you're looking at multiple, just see if I can find one here. Maybe I'll just let this one drill. When you're looking at multiple, okay, good. So you've got 3 different keywords we're looking at in this particular theme. We've got low carbohydrate, low carb, and low carbs. And each one of these is a different rank. So in other words, this site ranks #1 for low carb and #5 for low carbs and low carbohydrates. So the rank multiplier is 0.535 because we're taking the value of the 2 ranks at position 5 and the 1 ranks at position 1, and we're adding all of that together. So you take the total value, let me just make sure that that's going to be the way that I think it's going to be. Oh, that's because I'm looking at different values. All right, good. I'm thinking that this ORV should have something to do with that ORV, but I don't think it does. But the way that this ORV is arrived at, this $500,000 of ORV, is because of this rank multiplier. That amount of click-through rate, it seems like, I'll have to check with Kelly because now I got a question in my head. It seems to me like it ought to be half of that, and it's not, roughly, right? Like 0.53, and I'm not sure why it's not. 3 keywords. But anyway, what this is saying is that it's going to get about 50% of the click-through rates for all 3 of these keywords put together. I can appreciate why you have a question on that. I'm not explaining it very well. I'll come back and put an addendum underneath this webinar and get a better explanation of what it is this is doing. All right, so this is interesting. I'll just go down this path for a minute since we've got this one up now. So on this one, you can see this is the page that they're ranked for. This is the page rank of that page, and these are the positionings. Now, lowcarbdiets.about.com has got 2 different pages actually ranked for these 3 terms. They're in position 2 for low carbohydrate. They're in position 7 for low carb. This page is in position 7 for low carb, but it's also got this one in position 8 for low carb, so they got a double entry on low carb, and then they're in position 1 for low carbs. This is a page rank 6 page, and this is a page rank 4 page. So this is giving you an overview of what that entire domain is doing in regards to this entire synonymic set. So that's where, as you start to put together your synonyms, your parent theme and synonyms for a particular page, it's really interesting to drill into that and take a look at this page to get a good feel for who your top competitors are, because in this you can see how how your top competitors actually change, right? Like low carb, this is position 1 for low carb. Position 2 for low carb is Wikipedia. But because you're looking at 3 different keywords, about.com actually factors in as your number 2 competitor. So it takes that data prism and just makes it a little bit more complicated, adds an extra dimension to it when you're looking at ranking for multiple terms on the same page. So, and again, this is where Krakken excels in terms of looking at themes rather than at keywords. Does that make sense? Okay, good.
Yeah, I think that's good for now.
All right. So, that's the white paper. And if I really want to figure out whether or not I can rank for something, how difficult it's going to be to rank for something, then what I do is I come down here and I'm taking a look at the average page rank. Oh, this is fascinating. All right, let me go into that just a little bit. Okay, so I've got a page rank 4 right here at the top for all 3 of these. But then when I hit position number 2, I've got a page rank 6, which is the home page for about.com, low carbs diet, the subdomain of about.com, which is usually going to be a higher page rank for 2 of my keywords. So I've got a page rank, and when I look at this page rank 6, they're ranked number 2 for low carbohydrate. If I come down here and I look at low carbohydrate, I've got a page rank 5 in the number 1 position. And when I look at low carb, which they're at position number 7, and I look at the number 1, that's position page rank 4. So page rank 4, page rank 5, if I want to play in the arena of these 3 keywords, I'm going to need between a page rank 4 and a page rank 5. I'm probably going to need a really heavy page rank 4 in order to play, in order to get the rankings that I'm looking for. So that's where it just kind of takes that to a little bit more of an intelligent position in terms of my understanding what kind of page rank it is that I'm looking for, that I'm going to need to rank for. If this is my most competitive term, if my, like, let's just say here, my most competitive term, low carbohydrates, is a page rank 5. So if low carbohydrate is my most competitive term, when I've headed over into Domain Web Studio, in my business rules and filters page, I'm going to stick a page rank 5 in there rather than the page rank 6, because this page rank 6 is that's in position 2, and I've got a page rank 5 in position 1. And just think about that for a second. I know that I could beat about.com. What they're not as the SEO for this page is not as strong for the term low carbohydrate as the one on Wikipedia. So that's why Wikipedia is won out over the about.com, probably. Also, Wikipedia does get special favoritism from Google on a lot of terms. But my guess is a heavy page rank 5 would probably make this. Now, if I were telling my client what it would take to do to actually make it, I'd probably tell them a page rank 6, just so that I don't get burned. But anyway, that's how I look at a white paper and how I analyze what it is that I'm looking at and what I would take out of this and pull over into Domain Web Studio. Now, if I'm looking at detox, if detox is the top term in basically what I'm headed for on my homepage, the most competitive term on my website, not necessarily synonymic ideas there, but the most competitive term on my website, then I'm looking at page rank 4 for Wikipedia in the number 1 position, and I'm looking at WebMD, which is a page rank 5. They both have detox in the URL string. Again, Wikipedia might be winning out just because they're Wikipedia, or it could be that they're actually a little bit better SEO'd. I mean, wikis just have got wicked sick aspects of siloing inherent within them. So someplace between a PageRank 4 and a PageRank 5. Again, for me, I would probably put in a PageRank 4 if I'm just estimating it for myself. But if I'm estimating it for client, I'd probably cave to the PageRank 5 just so I don't get burned. When you look down the list a little bit further and you see another PageRank 5 clear down here, it's because they're not aiming as hard for detox as these other sites are. This is 48-hour weekend cleanse. They're talking about detox as a tangent concept to that. So that's why that PageRank 5 is all the way down there. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions?
There is a question about integration of all this into DWS.
Okay. How soon is it going to be integrated? Yeah. Yeah, that. Okay, so what Steven's actually asking about is the automatic PageRank integration for Krakken. That's probably going to be about a year out. I'm hoping to have a TLKT integration so that you can do keyword research on the fly really quickly and easily within the next 60 days, definitely by March. But I would say to actually get Krakken integrated into all of this, along with all of its market analysis and PageRank, there's, Krakken's, we haven't made any. We've made updates to Krakken over the years, but we haven't made any really huge, major, life-altering changes. We haven't integrated any of the new things that have come along in the last year or so in terms of other factors that are becoming important to market analysis. So I would, when we do the rewrite and merge everything together, there are some exciting new things that I want to do, but that means it's going to take a little bit longer. So my best guess for that is about a year from now, maybe 15 months. So
Okay.
yeah, but we'll see TLKT. You'll see an integration of a keyword tool much quicker than that, which will be fun and make your life infinitely easier. All right.
Okay, very cool. All right, so it looks like we did have quite a few other viewers and listeners wander in while we were talking. So those of you who are not familiar with the application and haven't tried it before, you may get this in a bundle with Domain Web Studio if you wish. I guess the best place to send them is Network Empire, Sue, would you say? Or?
Yeah, let me just show you the back page where you guys can get the really good deals, all right? This isn't something that...
special,
yeah, exactly. This is our Christmas specials, normally reserved just for... Let me see where I can paste this. Normally reserved for our members, friends, and family prices, but I'm going to let everybody in on the sale for this webinar. You can get some screaming deals here. This one in particular will get you Domain Web Studio, Network Empire, TLKT, and Krakken for $547 a month. And if you're interested in the blueprints, which I didn't demo today, you can get unlimited blueprints for $647 a month. The blueprints in Krakken don't integrate into Domain Web Studio yet. That's probably an update that will happen before the 15 months. Before we actually integrate Krakken, we will probably integrate those blueprints so that You can either slurp them into our Silo Builder plugin, or you can slurp it over into Domain Web Studio. All right.
All right, excellent. So thank you all for joining us. And Sue, thanks for taking time out of your busy day.
Thank you, Russell.
We do have another Domain Web Studio webinar coming up on Wednesday. As usual, just visit networkempire.com to sign up for that. And I guess the following week, we aren't going to have any webinars, I think, around the Christmas holidays. We'll keep you informed. We're not going to do that. But we will, you can sign up on the webinars in Network Empire. I guess we're going to have the last keyword tool probably again on Thursday. You can also visit networkempire.com/members area if you want to keep updated to all the different webinars we have, because we do really have a lot of stuff going on.
Yep.
And there's a lot of products coming out, with 2 more being launched probably this week that we haven't told you guys about. So that's really going to, you'll just keep your ear to the ground. We'll be announcing a couple of items this week, and we'll keep you informed. With that, you have anything else to add to that, Sue?
No, if we don't get to talk to you guys beforehand, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous New Year.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.